This is Alexa Linton, and you're listening to the Whole Horse Podcast. I'm coming to you from the Cowichan Valley on beautiful Vancouver Island in Canada, and I'm excited to be bringing amazing instructors from around the world to share their knowledge about all the ways that we can keep ourselves and our horses well and happy, and about some of the cutting edge techniques, training, and different aspects that are coming into the horse industry and changing it from within. I'm so excited you're here, and I'm excited about the times that we live in and the shifts that are happening in the horse industry before our eyes. Let's get started. Hi, everyone. It's Alexa Linton here with the Whole Horse Podcast, and I'm very excited to have my guest here tonight from 15 minutes away, Heather?
Yeah, 15 minutes away.
So Heather is a Liberty trainer and coach, and we've known each other, I think, probably close to 10 years now. As I say, we live about 15 minutes away from each other here in the Cowichan Valley, and I'm excited to have Heather here because we want to broach this very somewhat controversial topic of why we ride our horses, why we think we have to ride our horses, and what we might be able to do with horses that either don't want to be ridden, or for ourselves when we're not feeling like riding, how we choose to do something. So Heather is at her house. We were gonna get together, but she's a mite bit ill. So she's over there and I'm over here. It's working very
well. Just keeping Alexa safe.
Exactly. So Heather, just tell us a little bit more, for anybody that doesn't know you. What is it that you're up to? I mean, over the years, I've seen you. Heather's one of those people, she's kind of like me, and I'm going to call you this in the most endearing way, Heather, but you're kind of a geek when it comes to riding and horses, and I love that about you. So what has been, a summary of your journey, because I know there's been so many pieces.
Well, it's interesting that you talk about, like, when either not being able to ride or choosing not to ride or whatever, because for me, when I decided to go to Liberty, and I specialize in Liberty, but I teach other things and I do other things, but Liberty has really been my focus in the last, I guess it would be probably 10 years. And that came about partially because of an injury, right? Where I couldn't possibly ride. And at first there was like this major, a problem in me that I was like, oh my God, I can't ride. Like what value am I anymore to the horse world? Like what joy can I possibly get, And there was a real transition for me in that process when I wasn't able to ride, and I had to come to accept it. And then eventually I got to the point where I didn't care if I ever rode again. I was enjoying so much of what I was doing and experimenting with the horses and evolving and the bonding and the playing with them on the ground, that if I never rode again, it never would have mattered. And then eventually I was actually able to ride again. And so I am riding now. But as you know, I'm also, like, I would have to say, like, obsessed, if I would say so, about groundwork, whether it is at Liberty or whether it's online, because I'm learning like really cool methods with the groundwork, developing horses' balance, making them stronger, making them sounder, making them more mentally healthy. And if you want to ride, it makes them better for the riding. But honestly, like, I go out there and I just love the groundwork for the sake of the groundwork. I don't need to ride anymore.
Yeah.
Riding is like the icing on the cake if I want to.
I love it. Yeah. I think, very much in part to you, or, owing to you, is like, my relationship with Diva has transitioned that way as well, where, we ride for sure, but it's not, it's maybe half of what we do together. A lot of it, is Liberty or straightness training or different things, because it's just such a wonderful exploration. And I've seen with certain horses. I mean, I'm no expert. Heather's the expert here, but it's been really fun to watch. Ripley next door here. So he's I guess a paint quarter horse, and he was so out of balance in his body. And I'd love to have you share a little bit more about this. Is that sense of like, his body has changed. We haven't ridden really at all. We've been doing straightness training and liberty work with him for maybe the last 8 or 9 months, just once or twice a week. And it's incredible to see the balance and the condition that's come in for him. So would love to hear more about that. How does it work? Like what is going on there in terms of, that horse developing?
Well, it's a lot like if you or I want to go to the gym or something, it's a combination of work that could be like yoga, could be like Pilates, could be strength training. And if we were to do that, or even like high interval training, where you're doing, maybe some repetitions of something. Mm-hmm. And with horses, you can't tell them to go and like lift weights, but you can have them do like more like body weight style training, right? Where you can put them into exercises or positions where they're actually having to carry their own weight better, and that's strengthening different muscles, just like if we were like doing squats or push-ups or whatever. And that's why you don't have to do, hours upon hours upon hours of it to get a really good benefit, because I work out on occasion when my knee is not totally screwed up like it is now. Mm-hmm. And when I do my workouts, they're half an hour long. And that includes like a warm up and a cool down, but I still get stronger. And it's like same with the horses. You don't have to be working with them for long periods or extremely frequently for them to be getting stronger if you know how to do the right exercises to use the right muscle groups and to strengthen them. And I think a cool part of that on the ground is you can actually see the body and the development and the balance. I mean, yeah, you can feel it when you ride, but I find it like really cool just to be able to look at a horse like Ripley, look at him, see how was he moving 6 months ago, see how does he move now, or being able to look at his body and be like, wow, what a cute little apple bottom he has now compared to what he had like before, right? Because he's building up these muscles. And my actual my previous dressage instructor, and I was like starting to learn this stuff, and I was also taking lessons with her, but I took the winter off of lessons with her, and I was just practicing my like strength training groundwork stuff with my horse, because honestly I was too lazy to groom, so
yeah,
I didn't want to put tack on.
I know nothing about that.
So it was all muddy and nasty outside. So I was like, I'm just going to do groundwork and I'm just going to practice this stuff. And then she came out, and I think it was like February or something, to teach me a lesson. And she's looking at my horse and she's like, oh my God. She's like, the musculature of your horse is amazing. Like, she's transformed from the last time I saw her. And she says, how did you do it? So she says, I know you don't ride. She gave me that look like, I'd been naughty or whatever. But my horse looked buff, right? Yeah. And it was because of this kind of strength training. And I just think it's really exciting. Like, I'm like super passionate about it.
Yeah.
And I think the horses, they like it too, as long as, you're doing it in, carefully moderation. They get really relaxed by it. There's like a lot of releasing and yawning that goes on, because it can be like yoga or Pilates, or it depends on how you choose to use exercises and which ones that you're using, right?
Absolutely. Like Ripley, man, he's like a different horse, like personality, behavior wise as well. Like, remember when we first started working with him, like it was often like, he had a bit of that look on his face, a little bit of ears back, a little bit of like, and now he's happy, he's proud almost, right? It's like he can carry himself, and he doesn't feel stressed about being unbalanced anymore. And that's really cool to see in him. And what's really neat is the woman that's working with him, his mom, she's never worked with horses before ever, and she doesn't have necessarily the confidence to get up and ride, but she like feels totally safe with him on the ground, and she can do all these amazing things with him on the ground. And that's what, like 8 months, of work. From like pure beginner, like didn't even feel comfortable handling the horses, to lunging at a canter and, like having him trot beside her and, all these cool things. It's really quite amazing to see. And he's the kind of horse that, you get on and ride and he's like stressed and he's learned these patterns of, of being in this, under saddle, that he's having to now unlearn, right? Because he was is out of balance and it hurt him. His back was really in pain and things. So tell us a little bit about that. So if you've probably worked with horses coming back maybe from injury or, horses that purely like don't want to be ridden, how do you work with that?
Well, just listening to you talk there was like, oh, I've got like so many different like ideas and things that I could like talk about and spin off on. And I'm just trying to like harness them all in my head.
We'll
and,
do
like,
more of these. Don't worry. We'll do more.
Yeah, because, when you're talking about Ripley and you're talking about how he's sort of changing a little bit in personality as well with this groundwork. And that's actually something that my instructor, he's taught like whole theory classes when he comes in and teaches about, and that's Kenneth, but he just talks about how the physical body is so related to like the mental and emotional body. And it's hard sometimes to know which one's first because it's circular, that when you are more mentally and emotionally balanced, you can feel better in your body, right? But then at the same time, if your body is feeling better, then you're feeling more emotionally and mentally balanced. And those two things work together. So if we can help a horse, maybe we can't necessarily help them emotionally in that moment, or maybe we can, but let's say we can't. If we can make them feel better in their body, if we can help them to find ways to move better or to release pain, they're going to mentally start to calm down. They're going to start to be more relaxed. And then vice versa. If we can help our horse to become more relaxed in their mind, they're going to start to move with more swing. They're going to start to move with more suspension, more balance. And when you were talking about the balance, I've been studying this lately about what does it feel like when you're a human being and you're losing your balance. And this came to me especially when I was actually training in Belgium, because I was training in the mud, in the rain, and I was on the ground because we're doing mostly groundwork, and I'm walking backwards because, as you know, in this work, a lot of times we walk backwards so we can see the horse's body. And I felt like I was going to fall on my ass. And I thought that the horse might just accidentally come over top of me because I was feeling really insecure in the rubber boots in this mud. And I thought, this is how horses feel. This is how horses feel when they're moving in balance. And this is how they feel when you stick a rider up on them and they're moving out of balance. They're getting this insecure feeling. It causes them tension in their muscles. It causes weird behaviors in them because they don't feel safe. They don't feel comfortable. They got this human up there that's compounding the issue. And it can cause a lot of the behavioral problems that we see. And we kind of underestimate it. Like a lot of people saying horses are rude or whatever because they're like bumping into them on the ground or coming too close. And a lot of times it's just the horse is losing their balance. And then when you talk about the soundness part, like about being able to deal with injuries, because there are some horses that they can't be ridden because they have some injuries, but what if we can teach them ways of carrying themselves differently, right? Like horses who have different problems in the front feet, like say as an example, horses with navicular. If we can start teaching them to transfer weight to the hindquarters, we can take a bunch of pressure off those sore feet and maybe even give those feet a chance to like rehab and grow in different ways.
Absolutely.
And that's all by, teaching the horse to move different. Or you see horses, a lot of people say lunging is bad for a horse. Well, it's bad for a horse if you do it in the wrong way, because a horse traveling, super fast around a circle, and the horse is totally vertically imbalanced and traveling like, a motorcycle goes around the corner, is putting an incredible amount of force on their front inside foreleg, right? Well, yes, sending them around like that's going to cause them all sorts of bad pains and forces. But what if we can teach them how to actually turn in a healthy way? What if we can teach them how to carry in a way that their body doesn't normally do? And then that starts to transfer over to both other work that they're doing or even just out in the paddock. because you talked about Ripley looking proud.
Mm-hmm.
The reason horses like to be proud is because that's the one thing that they have, is like being in the eyes of another horse, looking good, and being able to impress that other horse through their movement, through their play.
Yeah.
And also being able to feel like they could easily get away from a predator. I mean, my knee is killing me right now. And because of that, I'm like, if I'm in a bad situation, I can't get out of it because I can't move fast enough, right?
Yeah.
If I'm sound and I'm strong, I can easily move out of harm's way. So same thing for a horse. They're motivated to get stronger. They're motivated to get sounder. They want to feel better in their body to get away from predators, or so that they can impress that hot little stud over there.
Well, that also makes so much sense because, you know, Ripley has Peanut, of course, and Peanut used to be like, oh, you're such a pain. Like, you just like, you know, like mare face him all the time. And now she's kind of like, I kind of like you. Like, you're pretty.
Ripley, have you been going to the gym? Have you been working out?
Like, I'm like, I even said that to Natasha the other day. Like, have you noticed that these two are actually like getting on way better? Like, Peanut is like, you can stick around, you know? And I think it's
well, and Ripley's probably feeling more confident in his body, and he's carrying himself better, and that's transferring over. So Peanut's seeing his confidence too. Like cool. That makes sense, right? Horses want to impress other horses. Of course they do. Just like humans want to impress other humans. It's
primal needs right there.
That's nature. Yeah, exactly. I mean, Peanut's his mare, whether he or she likes it or not, because in this case, the two happen to live together.
Completely. They're forced to butt each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
It's an arranged marriage. But if Ripley can be working out and also working on his confidence, he can win over that Peanut.
I like it. Yeah. Totally. He's getting all buff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I want to speak, because before the call we talked a little bit about this idea of like kind of like, let's call it rider shame, you know, where
rider shame,
it's sort of like there's this unwritten rule in the horse world where it's like you must ride, like, you know, like you said, this sense of like you're walking down the street with your horse on a lead line and people like literally rolling down the windows and being like, why aren't you riding that horse? Like,
yeah, total strangers have asked me that before. Like they don't know me and they're unrolling the window like, why aren't you riding? Well, okay, do you have a lot of time? Because I could describe many reasons why I'm not riding right now. Okay, 1, this horse is a dragon. It's springtime. I don't want to get on and ride down the street. 2, we're bonding right now. 3, we're working on our manners. We're getting fit. I need to get fit too. So I want to walk instead of be on top of the horse in this case. And yeah, I want to expose my horse to the neighborhood before I get on 1 ton of nervousness. So so many different reasons, but people just think you have to ride because it's a horse, therefore you should ride it.
Absolutely. And I've heard that so many times. And it's even like going out on a trail ride with a big group, and I'll be like, okay, I'm just going to get off. And they're like, what's wrong? Like, what's wrong with your horse? I'm like, I just feel like walking. Like, I just,
what's wrong with you?
Where I'm at right now, you know? Yeah. So,
and I'm sure all my neighbors think I'm crazy because I spend so much time doing groundwork. So outside in my arena, there I am doing groundwork, either like at liberty, running around, playing, looking like a fool with my horses, or I've got them on the line and we're doing stuff. They're probably always like, is she ever going to ride that horse? But like I said, like there's no other animal that I can think of that people are like pressuring you, like you've got to ride it. I mean, yes, there are other animals that humans ride, but overall, nobody's telling you any other animal, you need to be on that thing or it's not of any value. But for a horse, like that's
cow?
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Just sitting.
That Great Dane could carry your child. Why is your child walking? Yeah. It doesn't make any sense. Or even when I used to, and I still do this a lot actually, when I journal out in the paddock with my horses.
Oh yeah.
You know, I like to sit with them and write my journal, and it's like such a beautiful way for us to bond and get to know each other, and such a peaceful way for me to find grounding. And they come and they like sleep over my chair, and people drive by, and sometimes they drive by very slowly. Like, why is that crazy woman sitting out in the pasture with her 2 horses? But that makes it so my horses actually want to do stuff with me, because they see me more as an equal then, instead of just that person who's always come out with an agenda, always wants to ride.
Yeah, for sure. Because it's like, dropping it back into connection place. Because so often with the riding, it's like, you're right about the agenda. It's like, okay, I have this much time, grab my horse, groom him up, put the saddle on, and here's what we're doing today. And, yeah, it's a tricky kind of environment for connection to grow in my
Yeah, I
experience.
think so too. I think it's not the place for connection to grow. I think connection grows on the ground, but of course we can also ride. And I think that you can still kind of learn to trust each other through the
Yeah,
riding, and through
totally.
good riding, or like exploring, like, hitting the trails and that kind of thing, and building confidence together. But I think that the real relationship piece, I think it happens before you
Yeah,
get on. I don't think it really happens through riding.
absolutely. Well, and I've seen it where, I think it's such a thing where people are like, oh, I'm starting this cult. And I've seen it where, someone's done some really like consistent groundwork and connection work with their horses, and maybe liberty and this and that. By the time they're, 4 and ready to be ridden, it's like such a non-event, It's like,
But then
it's
usually the
like,
horse is like, get on already.
completely, what are you doing? Like, everybody else is being ridden. Come on, rather than this like, oh my God, I'm terrified, like 3-month cold start kind of experience, right? Where they're
Yeah.
like really taken. So, I would say with groundwork, and I'd love your, opinion on this. It's like it allows me anyways to work at the pace that is right for me and my horse, and really listen. So yeah.
Yeah, and like riding might not be, we've been talking about like soundness and things like that, but riding might not be the healthiest thing for your horse right now, which doesn't mean that you can't ever ride. But if we're looking at it in terms of like a horse is quite weak in their muscles, then why are we adding a bunch more weight to its back? Like, why aren't we strengthening it to prepare it for riding, as opposed to just getting on and riding because it's a horse?
Yeah.
Or if our horse is traveling in a really imbalanced way, and like say the example that I'd used about the lunging, like if we're lunging with the wrong forces, but we can do that riding too. Like if our
Yeah.
horse is traveling in a really unhealthy way in their body, if they don't know how to carry themselves properly, and let's say they like to travel hollow, compressing their vertebrae together with their head up high, well, adding your weight to that back, that's not
No.
healthy. That's not good for that horse. So why don't we make that back healthy and strong and really good? And then we can add a rider if we want to.
Absolutely.
But I just see people riding horses, and I see the horse and I'm thinking, oh, you're really making things worse for yourself. Like, it's just a no wonder to me that horses are breaking down so fast, because
Yeah.
especially because with the course, like with the work that I'm learning in Europe, and I guess the maybe best way to call it would be like the academic art of riding. That's really what I follow and study. And some of the horses in there are actually in their 30s, and they're doing like
Oh,
intense high level dressage movements. They're not broken down, but it's because they've spent so many years like slowly strength training,
yeah.
doing things that are really healthy for their bodies, as opposed to like our traditional kind of way of like doing things too fast, too soon, too hard. And
Yeah.
then, yeah, the horse becomes unsound or working unbalanced. And then people are like, oh, well, crap, the horse is busted, get sober. That
Absolutely.
doesn't have to, that just doesn't have to be how it is, which is exciting for me, because like I think I've told you with Whimsy before, she's 19 this year. And I think it was a couple of years ago that I was like, Whimsy, your career has just begun, because
Yes.
now I'm learning this new stuff, and you're going to be working yeah, into your 30s. And she kind of looked at me like, huh? But actually, she really likes the work. She just loves
Yeah.
the groundwork, and her conformation is not splendid by any means. You know, she's built quite
Yeah.
long in the back,
I
and
know
I
that
really
feeling.
want to help her stay strong. I mean, and her hips kind of suck, as you know, and
Mhm.
if I can help her find soundness and comfort in her body into her later years, I'm going to have her stronger for like a lot longer than I had her mother, who was built a
Absolutely.
little better than her, but still, right? So,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's exciting for me to think that. And what's interesting about Whimsy, actually, she's a really good example, because I mean, I used her as a school horse and things like that too, and that never made her like really thrilled about things. And she made that very obvious that she
Yeah.
wanted to retire as a school horse. And I was like, okay, that's fine. But now she really wants to work. Like she comes and puts her head in the halter, and
Mm.
even if I've just worked with her, and then I'm going to try to put, like, say, my lunging cavesson on extra, she will get in the way of extra and try to put it on again. And I'm like, but I just took it off of you. You just had a class. You can't have another class, which tells
Oh,
me
that's so
she really
great.
likes it, you know?
Yeah.
And when we're out there working, whether I'm at Liberty or whether I'm doing groundwork online, these days, she's so feisty, because we'll be working at, like, canter circles and canter transitions and things like that. Mostly I work at Liberty with Wim, but because she just sticks with me anyway, so I don't need to stick a line on her. It's just not necessary. It's one more thing to hold. But with her, she's so into it that these days when she's like leaping into her canter, she's giving me like this little extra like fun jump and kind of like a strike forward, because she's like having so much fun and she's got so much lift in front. And
Oh,
that was something she didn't do when she was young. She's doing
no,
it now when she's
no.
19. She didn't do these kind of transitions 5 years ago. She wasn't even capable of it,
Yeah.
right? Like she just didn't have the strength or balance. So for me, it's exciting to see her acting like a younger horse. And
Oh, that's
I'm like,
amazing.
it's fun.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I say that too about Diva. I mean, like I think she's in better shape. Not maybe right at this moment, because unlike you,
You've been
I am
busy. You've been busy.
I'm too busy, and I'm also like kind of like I'm super fair weather and wimpy when it comes to riding stuff. Um, so she gets like bum scratches and snuggles and things like that. We'll get back at it soon. But like really, she's happier in her body at 18 than she has been
Yeah.
most
Oh,
of her
she looks
life,
fantastic.
right? And Heather came out for a lesson. I don't know, what was that, maybe a month ago or something, and
Yeah, I think it was a month ago.
she was just like so happy and free, and like she was like a 4-year-old, or
Oh
just
yeah,
like,
because the guys were moving like fridges or something like that past
yeah,
the
it was like
riding
there was a
arena, and she
bobcat
was like, "Woohoo!"
running.
Yeah, but she does not look like her age. You know, she looks like really healthy in her body. She acts really healthy.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
she looks happy. She's enjoying herself. You know, you can see
Oh,
it in how she's behaving.
totally. And I know like you're the same with your girls. It's like I want her to live like the healthiest, longest life possible, Like I literally wrote my book on navigating pet loss just so I could like deal with the fact that one day I would lose Diva. So, that's kind of like what I'm like, okay, if I can push that back as long as possible and she can have a quality of life. And so often with horses, I would say the ones that I see very often, it's lameness issues or other stress related symptoms where they're seeing their end maybe before they reach old age, or you know what I mean. And to be able to
Absolutely, yeah.
offer something up that actually cultivates relaxation and a
Yeah, because
soundness.
you and I are both going to keep them forever. Like,
Oh
we'll
yeah,
have our horses until they die. So, if we can do anything we can to enrich them.
yeah, yeah. I know. Watching Lucy's one video. Is it Bombero that she was?
Yeah, it's Bombero. Yeah.
Yeah, and just like so inspiring to see her. He had basically had this lameness that she was told, was never gonna heal or do anything, and to see her like working with groundwork and bringing him back so that he took the weight off those front legs and was able to like carry himself differently. That was just
Oh,
like
yeah.
really cool.
Yeah, and it's a great little like video that she has of like kind of her video story, and he's got ossification on one of his, I think it's on his pastern or something like that, and and I know him, and I've met him now, I guess, over the few years. And whenever I go to Holland, she always is like, "Hey, do you want to play with Bombero? Do you want to do something with him?"
Mm-hmm.
And he's such a neat guy because, yeah, like the vets told her to put him down, like as if he had no value because he wouldn't be, really sound enough as a riding horse. But he's the neatest horse to work with. And
Yeah.
he doesn't think of himself as being unsound. And he's doing like, he can do his fancy moves. He can do his like haunches in and travers, like trot on the lunge, but not even on the lunge. He does it at liberty. He's happy to do it. He's allowed to leave whenever he wants, if he wants to. He doesn't want to leave. Like he just wants to try all these moves. And I get to work with him and experience like that level of balance because of course he's a lot more advanced than my own horses because Lucy's a lot more advanced being one of my teachers.
Totally.
But I get to play with him, and you can see that his quality of life, he doesn't see himself as being unsound. He loves to play. When I was there last time, actually, which was in December, I went and visited them, and we had a total play session. He was just wild and crazy, and he's kind of an old man too now, but he was running and bucking and playing and like chasing Lucy and running away, and it's just amazing to see him like that because if she'd listened to everybody, she would have put him down. But he's still having fun. He still has this great bond with her. She can take him out into the forest and let him go. And I've been with her when she does it. She just lets him go in the middle of the forest and he will run and play around her. And he like sometimes will like book it off into the forest and you won't be able to see him.
Wow.
And then he'll come running back.
That's
amazing. And he finished his, like she just takes him for walks like you would take a dog for a walk. And he like kind of boomerangs around. He like runs out into the forest, comes running back. His quality of life is really good. Like you can see how much he's enjoying his lifestyle. And also he does like equine assisted learning with her. Like she's done some like corporate consulting and stuff. Yep. And Bombero, he likes that stuff. Like he likes to problem solve with like the corporate people come and they have to like convince Bombero to go through a obstacle course without any instruction about horses.
Oh wow!
And he likes it so much. He really likes it. It's like a little riddle. Him trying to figure out how to solve these things with the people. And Lucy showed me some really cool like pictures of him doing that with people from like banks and stuff like that. And, like, so what? Just because he couldn't be a riding horse, he wouldn't be of value? And look at all the great things that he's doing.
That's like, I think that's the crux of this whole, not the whole thing, but like this sense of a horse is still of so much value, even if they maybe can't be ridden or are choosing not to be, or maybe if it's like not the right time to ride them and we decide that, we need to take the time to develop them in other ways. I think that that's a real kind of, I know for myself, like something I want to break down in the horse industry more and more, because I think it forces us, even though we probably have the internal feeling that maybe we shouldn't be riding or a horse isn't enjoying themselves, we sort of force ourselves and them into something that's not really that comfortable or helpful. So
I think you're right, because sometimes people are doing it just because they think they have to, when it's not really the best option for maybe them and their horse at that time. And which isn't to say that like all riding is bad or anything. I mean, obviously we don't think that because we both ride, but a lot of times it's just not really necessary. Like even with Whimsy, because she's longer and weaker in the back, I'm asking myself these days, I'm like, well, should I really be riding her very much? I kind of suspect not, like if I want to keep her really sound, because she doesn't need the weight up there. When her daughter Extra, who's like short and compact in build, is her same age, probably riding won't even be like a problem for her, because she's like built for it, When I was Denmark in December there with Bent, and he was teaching me, it was like a week student thing. But one of the cool things is we would watch him school his horses after he taught us and the working students and other week students. And he has one horse who is quite an older gentleman. I don't know how old that horse is, but I would say he's probably in his 20s, but I'm not sure. And he doesn't ride him anymore at all. But this horse is incredibly strong. I mean, that's his horse that like does all the levade work and everything.
Right.
And he brings him out and he works him for like 10 to 15 minutes. And he like works him in the pilers. He works him in like off the pilers, but levade, passage, piaffe, all the work is like in hand or
Yeah.
ground work. And to watch this horse, he's so incredibly strong when he's working. But yeah, Bent chooses not to ride him because he's built like a suspension bridge. He's really long in the back. So why ride him? But at the same time, you can keep him strong, right? Really strong and sound. And that horse knows that he's strong, you know. And then he has his short, like powerhouse workout, and then off he goes to play with his buddies in the paddock. So I think that's kind of cool too. That like, yeah, you don't have to ride every horse you own. You don't have to ride each horse to a certain, you know, age that they're at or whatever, and that you look at their body and you pay attention to what's good for them and what isn't.
Absolutely. And from what I've noticed, I mean, horses are, you know, pretty clear as a general rule. But you will have those horses that, you know, wear the pressure and just kind of, just like people, right? Or like, okay, if you say so, I'll do it, you know? So for those of us with those sort of stoic type of horses, I know I don't have that horse.
Me either.
Diva's like, there is a speck under my saddle that you need to deal with. Like,
we're probably talking about people with geldings. We don't know what that's like.
I'm not really sure what that's like, you know, but yeah.
Our mares, they're more like, no, you've got this wrong. And then you get the mares there. But yeah, maybe geldings. Maybe geldings just like go along with it. I don't know.
Completely. And so we have to be a little bit more in tune, I think, with those ones to just understand like when it's it's just too much. And oftentimes I think, I know with the riding world over here, like we're pretty much always doing too much, I would say, you know.
Oh, I think so. Yeah, I think so. I think you can pretty much like always tell yourself, yeah, you're doing too much. Like most are, I think, doing too much, doing it in a way that's maybe not the healthiest for the animal, and maybe even knowing that, feeling that in their heart, but feeling like they have to because everybody at the boarding barn is watching what they're doing, and there's all this pressure. Like the riding shaming we were talking about, but then also I think it's something you said about Diva, and I think could you imagine how much you would have missed out on getting to know Diva if you didn't do all the different stuff that you have done with her that isn't riding?
Oh my
God! I think that's where you get to know so much of their personality. Like that's where like the relationship really happens.
Exactly. Yeah, no, for sure. I mean that, you know, yeah, we rode, but also we, you know, and we could think of groundwork even including body work. I mean, I know that Lucy even has this
absolutely.
thing, right, where she incorporates some, like, and I've been sort of doing that where it's like, okay, I'm going to do some straightness training and I'm going to like incorporate some body work into my straightness training. And it's so like beautifully relaxing, and I get to connect to like what's the feel in the tissues and where's my horse at and how much give is there, and you know, like where's the relaxation and where maybe is there not. It you know, it engages so much of your own sensory experience, your own connection, and horses love subtlety. Like this one thing that I've noticed, like Diva loves it when I notice like her one ear moved, or you know. I think they're always like, oh, humans, they're so dull, you know, they just don't get.
Yeah, humans are dumb. I put up with so much with my human. My human knows nothing.
Completely. Yeah. They just missed this huge signal that I just gave them, you know. Yeah. And so
that you can, like, when you're talking about the body work, that you can, like, if you're feeling in your groundwork or ridden work, if you're feeling into the horse and you find these tension spots, if you've got another way that you can, like, right then and there release that, like, that's pretty magical. And how much that must feel for the horse to say, oh wow, Alexa, like, you saw me, you saw that I had that tension and you could help me through it. That's pretty cool in a relationship. I mean, if somebody was wandering around and was like, wow, Heather, it looks like your one shoulder is like looking a little tense, I'll give it a little rub for you. You know what? That would be really good for my relationship with them, because I'd be like, thank you for noticing. super
Oh,
sweet
yeah,
and helping me feel better. And
totally.
yeah, I think that
Totally.
absolutely counts because we wanted to count like anything that wasn't riding, right? So body work, totally in there.
Yeah, love it. I mean, yeah, I know that was like the foundation that my relationship with Diva was built on. You know, it definitely wasn't riding. It was like, okay, we gotta connect first, and then like let's go from there, right? And then because we slowed it all down, mainly because she just forced me to more than anything else. But what I realized was later, like we'd gotten that much further ahead. Like our relationship now, I feel like I could just, and I don't know if you feel this, but like I feel like I could just be like, okay, I'm going in this show of like something I've never trained in and probably
Yeah,
okay. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
totally. Because it's like, yeah, we'll figure this out. We'll figure it
completely.
out together.
Yeah.
And it might not all be pretty, but we at least trust each other and we can kind of make things work. I mean, still, of course, we have our moments, but overall, I think that's definitely like when you talk about the foundation. Sometimes maybe when you take this approach where you're working more on the ground or more on things that just involve your feet on the ground, it might look like it's taking longer at the beginning, but
Yeah.
then because you're laying down such intensely strong foundation, it goes more like it grows exponentially. So as
Totally.
the years go by, you get way further ahead than if you had. Because I know this because I did it the other way too.
Yeah. Ditto.
I mean, I did that. I did the whole
The
ride
whole like
at the
trashing your
boarding
relationship thing.
barn. Oh yeah, the trashing, using your horse, loving your horse, but kind of using them like, recreational equipment because you didn't know any other way. Like that as
Totally.
a teenager was me riding and yes, genuinely loving my horse, but yeah, riding her in so many different shows and doing so many different things with her, but it was almost all ride, show, clinic. It wasn't a lot of bonding, not really.
No.
Um,
No.
yeah, so I've done it that way. So I know it was like years and years, and I had her for like 25-ish years, right? Because I had her
Yeah.
almost her entire life. Got her when she was 4. Um, and it was definitely not the best way to do things. And I felt like sometimes even, in her late teens, it was like we were working on the same damn thing that we had been working on when she was 6.
Totally.
Uh, it was similar, but like if I think of something like shoulder in, for example, I don't know if my shoulder in quality really got a whole lot better in all those years, all those different instructors, and all those
Hmm.
different shows. Whereas I think of now when I'm doing the shoulder in and I've been learning these different types of groundwork methods and different balance and strength and really understanding it, yeah, it's taking me longer to put it in there. But then suddenly it's like, whoa, the quality of it has improved in leaps and bounds. Like now I've got that like a couple of years with extra instead of 15
Yeah.
with Maple Street.
Totally, totally. And it's a commitment. I mean, myself and Heather, like Heather said earlier, I basically like,
Use
promised
the word
Diva
obsessed.
that we would be together forever, like until one of us bid it. So like that's that. And that's not always the promise that we make to our horses. But I do think that this kind of foundation to like build a foundation, because I think of this groundwork as a foundation of resilience. So it's like that sense of, there might be a time, like who knows what happens, but that Diva needs to go and be with someone else. Like if I bite it first, which hopefully won't happen, knock on.
Mm-hmm.
But like, do you know what I mean? For me, the groundwork has been this foundation where I know that if she has to go and live with someone else or, obviously I would pick that person like so, carefully, but that she would be okay because her resilience would be
Yeah.
high. She'd be able to
Mm-hmm.
handle some, differences and change and things. And that really has been a big piece around, what groundwork has meant for us.
Well, because you
Um,
would have set her up for success. So no
totally.
matter where she ends up, I mean, as long as it's with a decent human being, she's going to be able to thrive in that environment because you set her up for it. And yeah, I think that's really important.
Absolutely. And obviously there'd be pages and pages of written notes and instructions, but
maybe a whole like video documentary series or
Absolutely.
something. How
Perhaps
to
another
work
book.
with
Yes.
diva. Yes.
But, you know,
But like the commitment, like you said, the commitment is there. Like you're so committed to Diva for her entire life.
yeah,
Whether that means body work or just bonding, hanging out, grooming, taking her for walks, fitness training,
yeah,
or even just other stuff like trailer loading, like all that kind of stuff fits in there of setting her up for like a life of success, and that's the journey for you guys. And that's I think the different mentality too, though, from a lot of people. And I would really love to see more people have that mentality that they're like, well, we're in it forever, so who cares if it takes a little bit longer, or if we add some more like elements to the work that we do, because we've got our whole lifetime to do it.
Completely. Then it feels like there's a lot of spaciousness. Perhaps that's why I'm so lazy.
Yeah, like if I have to spend 2 years on groundwork or something to get my horse strong enough to be ridden, even at older age, well, who cares? Because if I'm going to have that horse into its late 20s or 30s, I'm going to have lots of time to ride later. So that's not really a problem.
Completely. And to bust that myth that we need to have like a fully trained, ready to roll horse, like by the time they're like 6, in the ring.
Yeah, like, oh, it has to be doing this, or even younger. I mean, you see that so much too. Like even, what's that? Like there's that recent documentary that came out on Netflix, and they have those horses and the big futurities, and they're working their asses off at the age of 3. So you know how much they were training to get there.
Totally.
And then those horses are breaking down. But yeah, like, can we just change our mentality to horses live into their 30s? So hey, what if it does take us like 10 years even, to get this horse to be decently trained up? Does it really matter? In the grand scheme? And it probably isn't going to take you that many years, but maybe it will, because life happens to people, and I think the people give themselves shame for that too. Or like, oh, what if my horse isn't like trained to do all of these amazing things in a certain amount of time? Well, does it really matter?
Yeah, absolutely. And I know, myself and Heather have been working with this one particular horse that's really undergone a lot of trauma in his life. And,
he's been through so many owners too.
Oh my God. And the backtracking is pretty freaking crazy, And
he seems like such a nice guy. He's not the kind of horse you would ever expect to have to be going through so many owners.
Totally.
Such a sweetie.
Such a sweetie. But, that sense of like having to now like work with him, he's 20 or so, and okay, how do we bring him back out of his shell? Like that emotional impact of so much rushed, pressurized training, it can be really, really substantial and really deeply harmful for an animal. And he's a good example of that, where he just full on shuts down.
Yeah, he really does.
So it's
even when you're asking in the most gentle and nice way, he's just like, it's like a little eye shade goes over him, and it's like kind of like he's just not there anymore.
Yeah, and that's become his coping mechanism. So it's really amazing to work with this kind of work with him, and then combine it with my work, doing energy work and body work and things, and just seeing him start to be able to, like, he's starting to develop the resilience to stay, right? And
yeah, he's starting to develop interest and openness. Like I think I've worked with him 3 times, and even like last time, he was so much more open and so much more willing, even just to offer more. He was offering more, is what he was. And I think to me, it's like really exciting to work with him, because I think, oh, where can we go? And he looks ancient,
Oh yeah.
Because life has aged this guy so much. So he looks like he's like one step at a death's door. But to me, he's like exciting to work with, because I think, how many years can we take off of him in the next couple of years? Like if we keep working with him, because I think he could develop so much more flexibility and strength and usefulness by the work that both you and I are doing with him, and of course his owner.
Yeah, completely. He's in the right hands. That's for darn sure. So I think, I want to, close up shortly here because me and Heather could talk forever, but we've already
We
agreed
really could.
we'll do more of these. But and because we live so close, it's easy.
It's really easy. And I would actually say, like, people could even, if they wanted to, they could write to you or I about topics they might want to hear about, because if somebody gives you or I a topic, we could just run with whatever that topic is for an hour, no problem.
Yeah, we totally could, because both of us we love to talk, you and I. Yeah.
We do. We
Especially the
really
horses.
do. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I wanted to, before we end, I want you to just like think, you don't have to tell me right now, but think of a couple of really great resources. And I want to just chat a little bit, before we finish about, how someone might go about choosing what type of groundwork they're going to do with their horse. I know this is a very big question, but I know for myself,
Mm-hmm.
like one day I'll be like, I feel like doing Liberty today, and another I'll be like, I'm going to do some straightness training, or I'm going to get on and ride. Do you have any recommendations there as far as like maybe how someone might start doing this kind of work, or one way to like, touch into, what to choose at that time?
Yeah, like what's good and what's not. I know when I go out each day, like if we're talking about choosing, I think a lot of it's like an intuitive process, or just like what I feel like. Sometimes it's what the horse seems to be interested in, because sometimes I just feel like, okay, horse doesn't seem this much into this. Maybe they want to get into that. Or like with, Whimsy might be a good example. If I start out with her at Liberty and we kind of tootle about or whatever, and then we start doing some harder work, if she's like right in there like a dirty shirt, I'm just like, okay, let's just keep doing this, but let's keep working on my harder groundwork, but let's do it at Liberty. But then say with another horse, I might choose Liberty because they don't seem like they're that much into the groundwork. Like if they don't seem to be offering much, then I might be like, okay, well, maybe let's do a little bit of Liberty, or a little, or her horse maybe that's behaving a little dangerously, I might choose Liberty because I want to give more space. But maybe if I've got a horse that I really want to add some more details to, or more refinement, and I need a little bit extra help with it, then I'm going to do a little bit of work from the groundwork online. That might be how I choose that particular activity. Or if I feel like, we just need to get off the farm, we need to get some exposure, then it's time to go for a walk together down the street.
Mm-hmm.
And I might, head out that way.
Nice.
And as for resources and like where you get started, I definitely read a lot. I really like books, and I read a couple of books that kind of got me into Liberty. One of them was called Empowered Horses by Imka Spilker. And it's a book that's not like super popular or anything, but you can get it on Amazon. And it's like a really fun book about the topic that we're discussing. It's about like not needing to ride your horse, and about like other ways of just being able to play with them, Liberty and kind of groundwork. But yeah, that was called Empowered Horses. I really like that one.
Okay.
And then, as you know, I got started with like this style of groundwork that I do now. I got started with straightness training. It's like an online program that's called straightness training. But then that led me further down. Like that's kind of how that is how I met Lucy Clausen. And then she kind of led me more to like the academic art of riding work, which was actually what straightness training was derived from. It comes from academic art of riding. Ben Brandrup really like formulated that, and it's like really old classical style work, which is what I'm doing. But then I work with like Kenneth on it, and he kind of has a bit more, I want to say, like gentle sort of energetic approach to that style of work. So I really like that quite a bit. So that's sort of like where I go to.
Okay.
For those
So
kind of things.
I think what I'm going to do.
That answers your question.
Yeah, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get maybe I'll get a few links and things from you, and I'll post them on the blog page, like that I put the podcast up on, and then people can kind of head over there and grab information if they're wanting. So before we finish up, where do we find you? I'm seeing your website here. We've got is it the heathernelsonlibertytraining.com is the main one?
Yeah, because I've revamped that thing over Christmas.
It looks amazing,
and
by the way. I like it. Yeah.
I continue, thank you. I continue to add more pieces to it and to try to speed it up a little bit as well, because once I started adding more bells and whistles, it slowed down a little.
Oh yeah.
But working on that. So yeah, heathernelsonlibertytraining.com, and I teach workshops both here at home and in the Cowichan Valley. And also I'll travel pretty much anywhere, because like I'm a total travel junkie, as just like you really.
Yeah.
And I'll go anywhere. If somebody's willing to host me for a clinic, I'm there.
You hear that, everybody?
I mean, yeah, I'm there. Mostly I teach right now. In Europe, I go there like to learn and teach is what I do. But I go anywhere just because I love exploring. And then, yeah, people are welcome to come here too. I do like intensives now, actually. So people can come to my farm. They can even stay here, and they can like take 2 lessons a day plus watch my trainings and, any horses that I have in training or that kind of thing. So that's something I want to get more into, because the farm's pretty, and I think people, could really have fun. And that's one of the ways I learn when I go to Europe. Is like I stay and be a student, and there's nothing like an intensive to commit to your learning, because you're just like all in, you're like dropped 100% into it.
Totally. That sounds awesome. Okay. So head to heathernelsonlibertytraining.com for all the info. And I'm so grateful to have you on here. Thank you for coming on, even though you're not feeling very well.
That's all right. I'm glad we finally got to this, because
this is like
we haven't told everybody, but we tried to schedule this so many times, and between you and I being like so busy and having so many things going on, and I think we even just sort of like wimped out a couple times for just various reasons, right?
Totally, yeah.
Where we were like, no, I've got, not that we were scared to talk on a podcast, because like you said, we could talk the year off a donkey, but more because we were like, oh yeah, but I have this thing the next day and I really need my energy for it.
Just trying to do self-care, everybody. Yes, for sure.
Yeah. But yes, thanks for having me on, because it's been fun, and I definitely want to do it again. So
absolutely. We will definitely do it again.